Welcome to a new episode of創出時機. Today's episode will be in English. I have a very special guest, Qing Li. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
So originally Qing can speak Mandarin because my Mandarin is very bad, so we'll speak English for now because you're from Silicon Valley. So Qing, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Qing. I'm co-founder and CEO of Redsip, and I'm originally from China. Was born in China. Then I moved to the U.S. for education, and then been living there, working there for the last 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
A long time. So I have a background from tech and consulting.
Okay.
And I came out to start Redsip a few years ago because
Were you working in U.S. before you came back?
Yes, I was in the U.S. and I founded Redsip with my co-founder, also in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, with Andy, we founded Redsip in the U.S. And just 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, there's an opportunity that we could expand to Hong Kong. So I have been staying in Hong Kong for a while.
Okay. So can you tell us a bit more about Redsip, what it is?
Awesome. So Redsip is a new generation social network dedicated for passionate wine lovers. And this is a mobile app, and right now is downloadable, available on both Android and iOS. So it has been downloaded by users in 53 countries.
Wow.
And it is an app that motivating wine industry stakeholders and also enable wine enthusiasts to connect and share their experience.
Oh, okay. So if I go on the app, I would meet people who likes wine as well.
Exactly.
Maybe similar tastes.
Exactly.
So I can maybe get some new wine based on his recommendations, etc.
That's right. So you can go onto this app. Firstly, is that the app can also suggest like who are your friends by finding your connections and connect you with the people who you would be interested in, that like learning and also sharing your moments with them.
You're from a technology background. How come you decide to go into a wine industry? Were you afraid because you're not from the wine industry? What gave you the confidence to break into this sector?
That's a really great question. And actually, we have a very interesting team that the three of us, like the core executive team, none of us having any industry experience in wine. And how we started is actually very simple. We're all wine lovers. And in our team, the three of us represents 3 generations of wine drinkers.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so each have one more decade of wine drinking experience over another. So adding together, we think we probably have 50 years of wine drinking
More
experience.
than anybody.
More than anybody. Yeah, but the pain has been there for a while. As when we started, so we see this disconnectivity. It's like, firstly, I represent the younger, like learner generation. When I started, I always think like, how come all my friends know much better than I do? And there are always people like so knowledgeable, know so much about the legacy of the industry. But when I drink, I can only tell this is red, this is the white. How can I get better? So it's like the first very naive question that drive us to think what happened here. And even like people who have like 10 years more experience than I do, 20 more years of experience than I do, they feel like it's still learning. They want to know more. They drink so much, but it's so hard to really remember what you have had, and it's so hard to compare and even associate the quality with the price. There's no relation until today. So I think this industry have a problem. Is comparing to all the other industries, they're all fairly efficient nowadays, driven by technology transformation, right? But this doesn't happen for wine. And this is why we believe making the connectivity happen in the wine industry should be the first step. So we have this humbly bold mission of moving the 1,000-year-old wine industry online.
Okay.
And to move it online, definitely we'll bring the new understanding, ideas, especially our obsession with the user experience, that where we believe we're the team who can make this happen, because we really focus on when the user get on board on our app, when they're interacting with wine, interacting with their friends, how that exact experience is, and how this could help people connect with their friends, and help drinkers connect with the industry people, and for the industry stakeholders, how we can help them make more money, more efficient. So that's the end point where we're making a lot of efforts, and that's why we think this should be us that taking the steps forward. Most importantly, and we don't just talk, we take actions by quitting our jobs to make it happen.
So what's the stage of Redsip right now? Like, you guys just launched your app. Are you how's the onboarding process going on? How many users? How many countries? What stage of Redsip is it now?
So as a startup, we're still raising our seed funding.
Okay.
So we have raised 2 rounds of seed funding, just about to close the second round, and moving directly to Series A funding, and that is happening this year. And we aim to close the Series A rounds of funding by June 2021. And we officially launched the app in November 2020. And nowadays we have a few thousands of registered users. Yeah, we aim to cross 10,000 by end of January. We have a much bigger download size, and for the registered and retained users, we aim to bring it to 10,000. Our user base right now covers 53 countries, and Hong Kong is the place where most of the users are. 65% of our users are in Hong Kong. It's a very dense community in Hong Kong. Nowadays, a new user sign up Redsip for the first time. They can find, like in Hong Kong, they can find at least 3 to 5 of their friends already on Redsip. So that's like the initial relevance to them.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so we're amazed by this density, and also the very healthy network we have in the very beginning. And
are you piggybacking on the big social media platform to find their friends, like Facebook and all that?
No, we started by in the initial stage, people log in Redsip,
and then referring their friends,
and spread out the words mouth to mouth, and that's how we even didn't spend any marketing dollar, so $0 on marketing. And the users, like the first generation of users, we invited 100 users in the very beginning, and there's 100 users are inviting their friends. So there's a community grow 15 times in the first month.
Okay. What are some of the challenges or difficulties that you're facing right now as a startup?
Every day.
Like?
For example, very extremely limited resources. So talents, that's the first thing. And it's always like when you have an idea, you want to build a product, you want to execute your idea, you need a great team of people who believe in this vision and that can execute, right? So we're still very small. Our team is no more than 10 people, but we're doing something like, it's really, this product is like something for a lot of companies, they probably will deploy like a 30 or 50 people team to do that, but we have to do that with very limited resources. So that's actually most of the time on the two sides, you need some money, but you're not like working for money. Money is like the oxygen that will keep your company going. And with the money, you can support a group of like really awesome talents, and they're loving this culture, loving this vision, so the product will be delivered. And we were very lucky, and we think like through all this extremely limited resources, we were able to raise the funds because it's extremely hard in the very beginning. We're not generating revenue yet. We have this vision of building the network, and the value will be in the network because all the future revenue streams are all pending on how strong this network you have developed. And then we need to find people who believe this in the early stage. So that I would just say is the challenges every day, because you're always getting in a position you want to execute, but the limitation of the resources are holding your hands. And I also think this type of challenges are where the true entrepreneurial spirits are inspired. Where like us, we have to make value from scratch, from zero. When there's no money, when there's nothing you can leverage, you can still make some value.
Has it been a time where your cash was running low and your next round hasn't been raised yet, and then you're faced with difficulties?
Yeah, those challenges already came several times, and there was a time. Yeah.
Okay.
Your dread of running out of cash, and
I guess all startup is like that.
All startup is like that. Like even during COVID, when COVID hit back in April and then May, that time was it's like globally there's a negative sensitivity from the investment society. And all of a sudden, our cash dropped very low. We were faced with this you have only 50 days of a runway.
Wow.
And you've got to make a big decision to firstly reduce the cost and control the risk. You've got to move very fast, and we were so lucky that we could survive during that period of time, as our team all agrees that to stay and keep doing this without taking a pay for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, and think that's really unbelievable. Is because people around you really have a passion for this, and we all believe, hey, overcoming this, we will do so great. And also very luckily, we were able to raise the funds since October. And back then, when we have zero cash, we still deliver Android version.
Okay.
Before that, we developed iOS. And within the 3 months when we're out of cash, no one taking pay, we still make Android happen. And in the meantime, we have people already reach out to a lot of sommeliers and very important knowledgeable users around the world. And when we launch officially in November, this goes really well.
Okay. How's the culture different from Hong Kong to, say, Silicon Valley? Is it easier to do a tech startup in Silicon Valley versus Hong Kong? Or what are some of the pros and cons?
I will tell you it's easier to do tech startup in Hong Kong than Silicon Valley.
Wow.
You might feel this is very surprising.
Yes.
And actually, we operate as we still have a presence in Silicon Valley. Our CTO is there, but our developer resources or development team are in Shenzhen nowadays.
But you can't go back now because of the COVID.
Yeah. So fortunately, I have been staying here this year. So what happened in Silicon Valley is that it's very different than before. The cost of talents are very high. Very high. Because you're competing with people like Google and the Facebook and Uber, right? Pinterest, those companies, when they, everybody knows they're going to IPO, and that even they're offering the same cash level, but their
just the
equity
brand,
is the name equity is so way more attractive, and you can't compete with a cash offer.
But here you got the ATMX, right? So here, especially in Shenzhen, if you're a good programmer, you would get hired by Tencent or Alibaba.
Right. I would say it's also so different that the tech talents on this part of the world, the Greater Bay Area, there are so many, and because the rising of Shenzhen we're like just a few years ago, right? And this young generation, they're very familiar with like some of startups like doing really well, become a Pinduoduo a few years, like just in a few years. So those are very like resonating them very well, and they're willing to join the company, taking
versus
the
a
risk.
big company, their chance of being like a very big person in that company is very, very small because they're like an employee.
Right.
But if they join like a startup, then they can rise.
They can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit easier here, and I guess raising money here is a bit easier too.
I will say
Maybe with Andy's connection.
That's a part of a world. Have a very precious gift from the government, the Cyberpod. So we came here actually through the Cyberpod incubation program. This is like somewhere you have the help from such a big
So there's
platform.
no help in Silicon Valley,
Silicon Valley, you got to compete for all this like accelerator program, right?
But it's
and
very limited,
Very limited.
Because so many.
Right, and they're taking your equity, right? And this type of support is that the platform Cyberpod platform wants to support the startups because they want to make the success together. They're really working side by side with you, and with this Cyberpod like incubation brand, I think it's also more credible that you. As a startup in the incubation, you're more credible in front of a lot of investors, and that's how when we come to Cyberpod, come to Hong Kong, we did the founding very well at the angel stage.
Okay, I understand. How's it like to be an entrepreneur as a woman, like as a boss? Do you see the difference?
Very different.
Really?
Very different. And I think like my team are still like joking with me that I have a lot of emotions that belonging to the women part, and men don't have.
Is it better to be a woman to be a CEO because maybe men are too aggressive and they overextend themselves? Do you see like any strength?
Yeah, I do see the strengths, but it's like a really very challenging as when you raise the funds, when you walk into the meeting room, that the room is dominated by male founders, like investors, right? And I had like a lot of very tough meeting, like in Silicon Valley. Like it's really like very male driven, and when we meet also like a lot of like investors from different culture background, you could see also a lot of like men, like they only talk to men. They don't want to talk to a woman when it comes to decision making.
It's very changing.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting, and that's changing. And I think we have an advantage as well, is because this extreme adversity placed in front of you, and that like can really get you bring the best out from you to overachieve. And we actually, when I started, when there was during the time, so I firstly built a rum product, and the Redsip was born because the first product was a failure, and back then I burned all my money. There was no money, there was no team, and there wasn't any product, only a pure vision. I want to connect the world's wine lovers, right? I started to pitch and went to a lot of pitch competition in Silicon Valley. And actually our first investor is a woman, and she was the first person writing the check for us. She actually turned me down 2 weeks ago, and I met her again in another pitch competition. And after I spoke, he came to me and asked me, Qing, hey, are you ready? I said, like, ready for what? She said, like, is your term sheet already? I'm in. I was like really surprised, right? And I asked her, you just turned me down 2 weeks ago. How did you change your mind? And she said, well, I met you 2 weeks ago, and today I saw you as totally different person.
Wow,
you changed so fast. The way you speak, the way you communicate, and the way you see your product is so different than 2 weeks ago. And this is what I look for, because I invest in people. I look at like the opportunity firstly as how big The TAM is the total addressable market. It's big, and that's okay. And second is all about the person. Is this a person resilient enough to get through all the challenges and execute? I believe in you. It's just like you are such a person, can change very fast, and I need to support this type of founders.
Wow,
and I felt that's for the first time is a women and that type of a connection we can develop.
So it helps.
It helps, yeah. And that's how I think in many scenarios, like through the years, it's really changing. I saw more women in the investment side, and so more women are also like willing to come out for startup. This type of connection, I think that's where we also have an advantages.
Cool. Okay, let's go over there. We can continue and test your product. Thank you.
Awesome.